Hi, everyone. My name is Pastor Brent, and I was not born a pastor. I actually have a story. I believe the Lord has called different men and women to different things. And one of the things I was called to is to break you out of different entrapments, ensnarements that the devil has put on you, so that you can be free walking in the way God created you in His will for your life and His plan, using the gifts He's given you to do His mission. I don't believe the devil knew or knows what you've been called to do. I believe he throws things at you and they snare you up. And my mission, what I believe I've been called to do, is to help people get free from all of that and be useful in the kingdom of heaven, 100% useful. I'm going to tell a little bit about my story. I was not born a pastor. I was born in Akron, Ohio, home of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll get back to that in a second because I think it's part of a story that the part of a plan that the devil didn't know when I was being formed in my mother's womb. The devil didn't realize, but the Lord did, and He helped use these different things to shape me and show me which way to go. I used to throw snowballs at the headquarters of AA. I used to live right on Main Street in Akron, Ohio. I used to go by Dr. Bob's house, after school, things like that. And none of these things even made a difference to me when I was growing up. I wasn't thinking about any of those things. Even, I had my first drink at 9 years old, and I wasn't thinking at any moment about alcoholism, the devil, Christianity, anything like that. In this video, I want to tell you a little bit about how I was, how things happened for a purpose, for a reason. Number one, I was born in a home with my mother and my father. And this was my dad's third child. His first two children had passed away, and this was my mom's second marriage. So a lot of people could say that I was born into a cursed, broken situation. And it's interesting in the Bible that Adam and Eve, a lot of us agnostic, atheist people can struggle with the idea that Adam and Eve eating an apple is the reason that we live in sin today. I get into these conversations with people and I say, I truly believe, left to my own devices, I'm a total heathen. And I think we were born this way. We were born self centered. We were born very selfish, as some would call a curse from Adam and Eve. And some would struggle with that. In the Old Testament, some of the minor prophets start to tell you that it's no longer the sins of your father, the sins of your mother travel down, but now you're going to be held accountable for yourself. You're no longer going to need someone to teach you the law of Moses, but instead it's going to be on the inside of you. You will know what it is from the inside. You don't have to learn it. And I think that's where we are today. However, I want to tell you, I was born in a broken situation, right? Already my dad had traumas. Already my father had issues from his previous marriage and two children dying. That is horrible. Parents should never have to bury their own kids. And then my mother had a broken marriage before my dad. So you have two people. And as we all know, and we love to quote, Jesus says, if you put away your wife for any other reason than adultery, then everyone's in adultery. So, in theory, my mom and dad were married in adultery, and I was born in adultery, and I was born to a father who had trauma, wouldn't give me his name, wouldn't give me his middle name because his first son died, and he was concerned for that, and also treated me like the third child, and it's weird, my brother as well. So there's a lot of brokenness in the beginning of my story, which can make us angry, right? People meet you, they talk with you, they try to learn things about you, and they judge off of your decisions. They judge from appearances. They look at you and make judgment calls, and you don't know from looking at me. I was born into an adulterous home, and I was born into a broken, very, people were just very, very hurt and had deep resentments. As I also, as I grew older, became having deep resentments. My mother and father divorced when I was 5 years old, and I had a little brother at the time. My dad was in prison. My dad remained in prison until I was 15 years old. So I learned to do all kinds of things as a kid, as my mom was trying to be educated and work in the late 80s and early 90s. My brother and I got into our own devices. Uh, the thing with the AA thing, my brother and I, we threw snowballs at the main place. We made fun of the meetings, things like that. Um, and just had a really rough upbringing. No male role models. The ones that my mom did date weren't that great. They were violent. These are 2 decades where men made a lot of the money and women had a hard time making money. So men abused women at home and abused children. And it was tough. The late 80s for a preteen and the early 90s were fun and they're great times and I miss them, but they were also hard for families. They were a place where if an alcoholic man lived in the home and provided, he was, you know, it was hard to control him. And I did start drinking. I started smoking marijuana. I started doing lots of drugs. I started hanging out with kids that were violent, kids that did, drugs, kids that vandalized properties, skipped school. They didn't love school, all kinds of things like this. I just got into a lot of trouble. And like I said, I didn't start out this way. My grandparents on my mom's side, that my first grandfather died from suicide long before I was born, and then my step grandfather wasn't even actually married to my grandmother, but he was a Pentecostal uh, tongue talking. He prayed in tongues. He told people about Christ with a fervency and a passion, but he wasn't even married to my grandmother at the time, and he gave lots of money to the churches, money that my grandmother and him didn't even really have. And my grandmother was not a very happy person. This is a woman who did a lot of things during a World War II, I think, or maybe World War I, where they had to do things by themselves. She was a bitter woman. And then on my dad's side, everyone was super Christian, even though my dad didn't live that kind of lifestyle at all. But his sisters and his mom were all very Christian people. And my grandmother on my dad's side hated alcohol. So in my story, there is alcoholism, there's Christianity, there's weak men, there's strong men. There's a lot of different things in my story, and the point is, at some point, in November of 2006, I went into an AA room, and I've been clean from alcohol, cocaine, Xanax, marijuana ever since that happened. But that's not the end of this whole story. It's actually the beginning, and I can't wait to share this with you guys. Thank you for watching this video. There's going to be another video right after it where I'll continue. But yes, again, my name is Pastor Brent. I am a recovered uh, alcoholic and drug addict through the AA program. I'm also a pastor at a local church, Ark Family Church. They gave me the pastoral role in January of 2025. And then I also have been part of AA and the recovery for 19 years, and I'm still a part of it now, working with men that are trying to get clean and stay clean myself. And I really love Jesus Christ. I'm a Pentecostal. I have the fire of the Holy Spirit burning inside of me. I believe that, we are called to go out, tell people about the great news of Jesus Christ, how much God loved you to send his son to lay his life down for you so that you could be filled with the Holy Spirit and be full of supernatural power to walk out of addiction, walk out of any kind of sin, and into the fullness of what Christ has for you. This is the YouTube channel. There's a couple others, Antioch Speaks, Victory Drive, Revere Christian Updates, and I am a pastor, one of the pastors at Ark Family Church in Woodstock, Georgia. Enjoy, share this, and I'll make another video soon.